Welcome back to the deep dive. We're pushing on with Dante's Paradise,
Yeah, picking up right as we step into the sphere of the moon.
which is the first heaven.
And for this deep dive into Canto 3, we've got a goal, right? We want to find something really useful in here.
Something practical.
Something practical we can actually take away for our own lives, our own journeys through, well, everything.
Okay, I like that mission. And this canto, it hits the ground running. We immediately meet these souls in the moon sphere.
Right, and the deal with them is they're here in the lowest heaven because they couldn't fulfill their religious vows.
But crucially, it wasn't really their fault, was it? It was like external force involved.
Precisely. And Paradise gives us two key examples, Piccarda Donati and Empress Constance.
Ah, Piccarda. Tell us a bit about her story.
Well, she explains she was basically forced out of her convent. Her own brothers, Forse and Corso Donati, figures we've actually bumped into earlier in the comedy.
Right? Forse in Purgatory and Corso. Well, he casts a long shadow in Florentine politics mentioned elsewhere. It really connects things.
It does. It brings that high-level Paradise down to, real family drama and politics. She was forced into a marriage she didn't want.
And Empress Constance, similar story, pulled out of religious life for reasons of state.
Very similar, yes. Political expediency trumping personal vows.
So Dante being Dante, he sees them there and asks, well, he asks if they wish they were higher up, closer to God.
Uh-huh. And Piccarda's answer, it's maybe one of the most famous lines in the whole poem.
His will is our peace.
Wow.
Yeah, his will is our peace. That line just,
Yeah.
it sums up so much of paradisal thinking.
It really does. So their happiness isn't about, getting a better spot.
Yeah.
It's about being totally okay with where they are because it's God's will.
Exactly. It's about perfect alignment, finding joy in that divine order, which is, the total opposite of what we saw down in hell, right? Oh, completely. Hell was all about frustrated desire, self-will, fighting against everything, leading to misery.
Total unrest. Here, it's surrender leading to contentment. But not passive resignation, more like active, joyful acceptance of what is.
Okay, and visually, how do they appear? There's something about reflections.
Yeah, they're described as these faint images, like faces you might see reflected in clear water or transparent glass. Very subtle.
Kind of tying back to that whole theme of light and reflection from the last canto.
Definitely. Everything in Paradise reflects that divine light to some degree. Being in the lowest sphere, they're like the faintest reflection.
Okay, got it. Setting, souls, the big quote, their appearance. Now, back to our mission. What are the takeaways for us today?
Right. So let's pull out some key lessons. First, that huge line, His will is our peace. It's not just theology. It's profound wisdom about acceptance.
Acceptance, how so?
Well, it teaches us to try and figure out what we can actually change in our lives versus what we, maybe just have to accept and find our peace within. That's resilience, isn't it? Knowing the difference.
Yeah, avoiding banging your head against a wall you can't move. It's active understanding, not just giving up.
Exactly. And then think about Piccarda and Constance again. They were forced. Externally, they failed their vows.
But they're in paradise.
Right. Why? Because internally, in their hearts, their commitment, their faithfulness, that remained intact. This points to the power of inner integrity.
So external circumstances can't actually touch your core self unless you let them. Unless you compromise.
That's the idea. Your inner state, your dignity, it's yours unless you surrender it, which is quite empowering when you think about it.
It really is. That inner space is yours.
And that leads directly to the value of intention. Couldn't do what they vowed externally, but their intention, their desire was pure. And that counts immensely.
So maybe we shouldn't judge ourselves or others solely on outcomes, especially when things are outside our control. The intention matters more.
It suggests that, yeah, it can free you from a lot of guilt over things life just throws at you, if the heart's intention was right.
That's a big one. Okay, what else?
Well, just looping back to Piccarda being content in her sphere. She's not looking up, envying others. That's about the relativity of happiness. Meaning true joy comes from being in harmony with your place, your path, as part of the bigger picture, not by constantly comparing yourself to others, wishing you had what they have.
The comparison trap.
Paradise basically says, find peace in your own ordained reality. Comparison steals joy.
Okay, wow. Acceptance, inner integrity, intention, finding joy where you are. A lot packed into one canto.
Definitely.
So bringing it all together then, the provocative thought for you, listening, might be this. How do you navigate that line? The line between accepting what you truly can't change and fiercely protecting your inner will, your integrity, when life pushes back hard.
That's the lifelong challenge right there, isn't it? Finding that balance.
It really is. And on that thought, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Amazingly, this was our 70th one.
70. Wow. Time flies when you're journeying through the afterlife.
It certainly does. Thanks so much for joining us for this exploration of Canto 3 of Paradise.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Look forward to the next one.